This is the laptop everybody has been chasing for the last few years. I know a lot of people like to say MacBook killer. Nobody cares about the MacBook Air anymore. This is the XPS 13. I think internet, we should officially transition, and I mean you media outlets with your clickbait headlines, which I love. You want to know, do you have an XPS 13 killer? Not a MacBook Air 13 killer, because this is what you care about. XPS 13, 9380. Yes, of course, the last four digits mean the model number. It is essentially a fairly minor update to the previous one on paper, but probably something that's very important. We're doing an unboxing. You just saw me cut the tape on it. It's not faked. In the box, we get a dongle, USB-C to A, of course. You get your white cord, and actually, this is significantly smaller. I wish I could find my other one, but this power brick is pretty tiny. And look at this in the box. I just want to point out, you get your, what they call a duct bill, I think. So you can plug this in. That is a pretty tiny little, all right, let's cut this loose. This is a 45 watt USB-C power brick, so you can charge up your Android-based phones that use USB-C and your iPad if you have it, maybe.
Same wattage as the last one?
Same wattage as the previous model. So, but it looks to me like the power brick has actually gotten smaller. I'll have to find the other one to compare. It's all white, which I think we're going to know what's in this box. Ah, yes, it is the, oh no, this one's silver. This one's the gold version. I'm going to get into this in a second.
And Melissa actually checked this one out in New York.
Yeah.
They do have a slightly new white color.
Oh, there's a new white color.
Yeah, this might, I forget what it's called.
It's exciting. But this is brushed aluminum. Again, check out Melissa's video. She goes over overview of what sort of the major changes are. We're going to get a little bit. We'll just do a little bit. Got your white deck lid. Keyboard looks to be the same. Actually, it's a better keyboard than previous model. The big deal, though, the thing that everybody cares about, I'll show you. Dan, point that camera at me, but lower the camera. Now lower that. You don't want to look at this. Look up. No, this is a bad way to do your video conferences. If you're wondering why nobody's listening to you, it's because of all the neck waddle and neck chin. That is accentuated on the previous model, the Dell XPS 9370, because the camera's low. So when you are on your keyboard, you see your fingers, you're seeing all that neck waddle, as they call it. That's basically neck fat that I just showed you my own. I'm not afraid to show you. Dell's just had enough of your whining about the location of the camera. Just said, screw you, we're going to move it to the top. Look at this. So gone from the bottom, not here anymore. It's now at the top. Dell said, though, the camera is about 2.5 millimeters. My battery is dying on this, but it is just stupidly tiny. Where are we at? 2.25 is what they say. Let's call it 2.3. I can't, my hands are not steady enough to, and my battery's going, but wow, that sucker is tiny. Look at that. We are, is that right? There we go. Huh. I am, oh, duh. What are we seeing here? This thing is just, oh, dang it. This thing is just losing it. The battery's going out on my care. Yeah, about, I'm actually seeing this, if I'm right, that is looking like 1.5 millimeters. Dell actually specs it at 2.5 millimeters for the camera, and they said it's just not your off-the-shelf cheap camera. This is actually something that they said uses similar precision as the cameras you would find in a smartphone, because I guess there's a lot of slop in webcams. Nobody really cares about camera quality out of a webcam and a laptop. So they said we wanted to have really super precise elements put in. This thing is just really assembled, so you get a great picture out of this webcam, they say. But I will say what's missing is there's no Windows Hello. Look, the previous model, the 9370, Windows Hello here, great. Dell apparently says, we're not going to do it. There is actually an option for a fingerprint reader in the power button. I find it interesting it's an option. I think Windows Hello is great. It should be included by default.
What would you rather have, a higher camera or Windows Hello?
I would take Windows Hello in the low camera, but that's me. I never had problems with location of the camera, you know, because I don't do a lot of video conferencing, and also most people are so paranoid about their camera they cover it up with tape anyway. So it looks to me, keyboard looks the same, which is a great keyboard. It's actually an improvement. We're actually seeing 3 generations of the XPS here. Oh, the logo's slightly different too. The 9360 right here, which is actually still on sale, interestingly.
So is that 2 years old?
This is basically the original XPS 13 with the infinity edge narrow bezels that sort of lit the world on fire, blew everybody's mind, has Type A on it. They use this same chassis, made minor updates to it for maybe 2, it almost feels like 3 years, and then they went to the 9370 from the 9360. Big differences, no Type A, micro SD, and you get 2 Thunderbolt 3s, both sides. There is not Thunderbolt 3 with USB power charging on the 9360, which still is for sale. But the other big difference was the performance. These both have very similar Coffee Lake U, KB Lake R processors, but I will say the Core i5 on this actually outperforms the previous model, even though this is a Core i7, because the improved thermals of the 9370 really just smoked everybody. Dell says, hey, we've taken that great cooling and we've put it into the 9380. Come on, this is what it's about, folks. With Intel's new Whiskey Lake U CPUs, it is yet again another Coffee Lake iterative part. Bigger difference, higher clocks. 3 point, I think, gosh, I'll have to look it up later, but it's definitely 500 megahertz faster on the top end, on the boost, over an equivalent KB Lake R. So Whiskey Lake U gives you just about 500 megahertz across the board. I'm going to be interested to see how this performs. Oh, apparently the hinges changed a little bit too. Let's just test it out. This is the big difference. Melissa mentioned this in her video, but a lot of people apparently have been complaining for a long time about if you take most of your PC laptops, this is an Apple thing, it's a little hard to open. So like they say it takes 2 hands to open it. I just open it with one, but they say it takes 2 hands to open that up. I guess they worked on this lid, so now you can it should open with less resistance. Let me just do it with the one hand, see if I can do it. Okay. Yeah, okay. It opens up almost. You do get a little body lift at the end.
Because it does torque tighter at the very end.
Yeah, so at the end, we get to right about here, you get more resistance because you want it to be tighter. You don't want this screen to flop around all over the place. So that's not bad. So for the people who, this is like Dell's version of the XPS 13 made to address all the whiners. I want the webcam on top. I got a big fat neck. Don't show that. I need one hand. My other hand's doing other stuff while I'm opening just put the cup of coffee down and open up the laptop.
But these are small improvements, I think, that just keep adding up. So you keep making, iterative changes, hopefully they keep getting better, right?
Yeah, and actually, let's see. Physically, they should be almost the same. Let's compare. 9380 on the bottom, 9370, XPS 13, 9370 on top. We're seeing same port selection. Looks like a very, very similar chassis. They have tweaked the hinge, of course, as we just showed you. Go to the other side. We get another Thunderbolt 3, and then there's USB-C for power charging. You've got your button that tells you if it's charged or not. Speakers. Bottom looks, yeah, similar.
Close, I don't think you could tell the difference.
Yeah, close, I don't think you could tell the difference. But the main thing is hinge tweaks, camera tweak. They do say 21 hours of battery life with the 1080p screen. That's going to be interesting to see. I wonder if that means they've actually changed their panels a bit, the new lower wattage stuff that Intel's been hawking, because 21 hours out of a battery this size would be impressive. I'm actually very interested in performance though, because we are going to do some quick benchmarks. I have existing benchmarks for these again, but I'm going to see how the new 9380 with the Whiskey Lake U performs against previous KB Lake R. Oh, this is a Core i7, unfortunately. I say that because this is a Core i5, but in a lot of the multi-threaded tests, it shouldn't matter too much. Let's just see. Core i7 8th gen versus Core i5 8th gen versus Core i7 8th gen in the older 9360. The crazy thing is you can still get the 9360, the 9370 right now on Dell's website. I'm wondering if they're going to just simply replace this one or simply we'll just sell them all. Maybe you want the IR camera in the bottom. We'll find out. But more importantly, we're going to turn off the cameras, come back. We'll show you a couple numbers on how they do. Hey, so we're back and we have a few quick results of the Whiskey Lake U versus two Kaby Lake R laptops, Core i7, Core i5, Core i7. First up, Cinebench R15. You know it well. It is a rendering benchmark. It's a good stand-in for heavily multi-threaded performance. Don't take this to perform everywhere. But Core i7, 8550U in that black Dell at the back there, 569. Single fan, can't run as hot, just can't handle the heat, so they have to crank the clocks back. It loses to the Core i5 8250U right here in the middle. The 9370 is faster with 655 versus 569. But what you want to know is how is the brand new Dell XPS 9380 do? 705. So 705 on the Core i7 versus the 655 in the Core i5. That is a very decent bump, and what you'd probably expect out of a 500 megahertz clock. Let's also look at single-threaded performance. Same thing on the far left, because we have Core i7 and we know Core i7 is better. That means that's where you see it. Lighter load. So Cinebench with a single thread, 159 on that Core i7 8550U in the XPS 9360. The Core i5 8250U 134. That is because it is of course intentionally nerfed by Intel because they want you to pay more for Core i7.
So fewer threads than the other
So
one.
fewer threads. So very much if you're doing Word, Office, Outlook, Chrome, and believe it or not, Photoshop most of the time, this performance is probably worth more than the previous chart. But Whiskey Lake U, look at this. This is where you're getting all the magic out of Whiskey Lake U. That 500 megahertz increase in overall clock leads to a score of 181 versus 159 for Core i7 Kaby Lake R in a less thermally good laptop. And basically in the same laptop, in a Core i5, you're looking at 134. So Whiskey Lake U, Core i7, if you're into those light threads, very much worth it. As you know, though, you do often do things that heat up a laptop, and what happens when you heat up a Core i7 is the clocks start to fall back. You really don't get all that goodness. It's for light loads. So we ran Handbrake on all three of these laptops. And you can see the performance. Shorter is better, and no surprise, Core i7 8550U in the 9360 XPS 13, 3567. So that's basically an hour, right? 3,567 seconds to run that Handbrake encode. The XPS 9370 actually performed the best, but I would call it a tie. 3444, clearly a small increase over that Core i7, because again, that Core i7's advantage of vaporizes once you heat it up. The 9380, though, with the same cooling system, is a dead tie. Reason why? Again, Core i7, Core i5, once you burn off those turbo boosts, it's pretty much, you're not going to see that much more. And all these are folded over because I also have on here an XPS 9570, which is the 15-inch with the 6-core, and the XPS 15 2-in-1 9575, which is the Kaby Lake G laptop. I love that laptop. And you can see that there is a big difference on these heavy loads where you're heating the laptop up and you sort of burn off all those high clock speeds. That's 6-core. If you're looking at XPS 15, 6 is better than 4, folks, on heavy loads. And that quad core in the Kaby Lake G is also better cooled. It's a bigger laptop. It's got more fans. It's faster. But they're also both heavier. When you're looking at the XPS 13, the 9560, 9570, 9360, 9370, 9380, this one's going to be the fastest because Whiskey Lake U generally is just going to run at higher clocks.
But it's not that significant. I feel like if you're looking for performance, you're gonna you're better off stepping away from the 13 to like a 15 than trying to go like from generation to generation. The difference isn't that major.
No, it's not major, and I frankly, you'd have to be crazy to go if you have an XPS 13 9570. If you have a Kaby Lake R, you'd have to be rich or somebody's buying it for you to upgrade to the 9380.
Or the Vanity.
Or the Vanity. You really, honestly, some people like the one-handed opening. That might be worth it. You're getting to this. There's definitely a significant performance delta between 9360 and 9380. It's pretty big. And if really, this is KB Lake R, so you're probably not looking to upgrade. But if you're looking to a Broadwell or a Skylake version of the XPS or a KB Lake version, then you know what? You're getting a lot more performance. You're getting more cores. So I would say it's a very decent upgrade for older laptops. I don't think it'd be hard to even justify going over this 9560. Although definitely the Performance Crown looks like it's going to go to the 9380. And you can open the screen up with one hand. So we'll be running more benchmarks. Graphics are all the same, so we didn't do any of that stuff, folks. But clearly, two fans, Whiskey Lake U is probably the best we're ever going to see out of an Intel U class part in this generation of laptop.